My name is Philip Langford, and I'm 68 years old, the so-called patriarch of one of California's most powerful tech dynasties. For decades, I built Langford Industries from scratch, while my family smiled for magazine covers and sharpened their knives behind the scenes. I was the youngest of 4 siblings, the quiet one, the one who kept the gears turning while they soaked in the spotlight. Even now, after billions earned and decades of sacrifice, I've never quite shaken the feeling that I was a placeholder in my own bloodline, tolerated, not respected. Maybe that's why I didn't see it coming. The betrayal wasn't loud. It didn't come with slammed doors or screaming matches. It came with a whisper, a smile, and the edge of a cliff. She said it was an accident, but her eyes told a different story. The gate didn't open. I keyed in the code again. Nothing. Just the metallic click of denial. Wind whipped through the pines above Big Sur. My own estate, and I was locked out like an unwanted guest. I pressed the intercom. Crackling static. Then a voice. Delivery. It wasn't James, my groundskeeper. It was someone younger, sharp, bored. "This is Philip Langford," I said flatly. "Owner." Silence. Then a slow, uncertain buzz. The gate creaked open like it regretted the decision. My tires crunched gravel as I pulled up to the house. Something was wrong. The flag was gone. The front lights were off at midday. A white Lexus sat in my usual spot. Unfamiliar. The door opened before I knocked. A woman stepped out, clipboard in hand. Smart blazer, southern accent dulled by time. "Mr. Langford," she said, blinking like I wasn't supposed to be real. "Didn't expect—" "I live here," I said. "Why wouldn't you?" She hesitated. "Because," she said carefully, "you sold it." The paper was thick, glossy, the kind real estate agents use when they think it'll impress you more. Then the truth. Photos of my home were plastered on every page, listed as pending sale. The buyer was anonymous, escrow already initiated, and the signature, mine. Except it wasn't. I stared at the line, black ink, flawless curves. Too flawless, my shoulder was still stiff from surgery. I couldn't have written that last week, let alone authorized a full transfer. A gust slammed the front door behind me. I didn't flinch. My heartbeat did. I turned to the agent. "Who gave you this?" She flipped to the closing documents. It was couriered directly from your law firm, initialed by Verena Langford. Verena, Clive's wife, the one with the Ivy League smile and the eyes that always lingered too long on my vault. I didn't say another word, just turned and left. My phone buzzed in the car. Clive. I let it ring out. Then a text from Verena, cool and clinical. "Everything's in motion. Please don't interfere. We'll explain soon." I swerved onto Highway 1, tires screeching as I dialed my lawyer's office. Voicemail. Again. 3 times in a row. Sunlight flickered through trees like a strobe light. Shadows danced across my windshield. Something was building. I hit the turnoff toward Carmel's County Records office. The clerk, a young man with shaky hands, pulled up the file. "Yes, sir, it's valid. Transferred under expedited status. Notarized by Lisa Harrow, registered in Oakland." I leaned in. I've never met a Lisa Harrow in my life. He looked nervous. "There's a thumbprint scan on record. If you want a review." He handed me the printout. Not mine. Wrong ridge alignment. No scar on the index. My scar was from a machine belt accident when I was 24. This print was too clean. Back at the house, my study was dark. The safe was open. The original will gone. Vault logs showed entry 2 nights ago. During the week, I was under anesthesia for post-op observation. I logged into my laptop. Password denied. Incorrect credentials. Again. Incorrect. 3rd try. Locked out. I sat still, staring at the reflection in the black screen. My face looked older than I remembered. The safe had been coded to only 3 people. Me, Clive, Verena. And there it was. A red dot blinked on the corner of the desk, a hidden recording light. It was still warm. There's a saying I once heard at a venture capital panel. You don't see betrayal until the ink dries. Whoever said that had never met Verena Langford. "That's not my signature," I whispered, but the ink was fresh, and the cliff behind my house was closer than ever. I didn't knock. I walked into my own home like I had every morning for 20 years, except this time it wasn't mine, and I knew it. The door swung shut behind me, slow and heavy. The silence inside didn't feel like peace. It felt like planning. Clive stood in the center of the living room, one hand in his pocket, the other holding a whiskey glass he hadn't earned. Verena sat perched on the armrest of the couch like a queen at a chessboard, calm, controlled, the same smile she used at charity galas right before cornering someone into a donation. "You're back early," Clive said, voice casual, too smooth. "Didn't realize I needed permission," I replied. My shoes echoed sharp across the marble. "Let's not do this," Verena said softly. "Not like this." She gestured to the fireplace. A small stack of documents rested on the coffee table, neatly arranged, precisely aligned. I didn't sit. She did. "There's concern about your health," she said. I laughed, short and sharp. "You pushed forged documents through county records. You changed passwords. You raided my safe. Now we're calling it concern." "You had surgery, Philip," she continued, her voice dipped in honey and threat. "You were disoriented. We took precautions just in case. Just in case I didn't wake up, or just in case I did." Clive flinched, barely, but I caught it. He poured another drink. "You've always made everything harder than it needs to be," he muttered. There it was, the crack. "I built this house," I said quietly, "from the beams to the bylaws. You think I can't feel when something's been ripped out?" Verena crossed her legs slowly, like a reveal. "We're not your enemies, Philip." "Then why do I feel surrounded?" She slid the stack of papers toward me, glossy, crisp, too pristine, like everything she touched. "Updated will, power of attorney, clean, legal. You sign this. Everything's protected. No courts, no public scandal." My hand hovered over the folder. "You really think I'll fall for this?" "You're already falling," she said softly. "We're just trying to catch you." The room got smaller, the ceiling lower, the air thinner. I stepped back. "You're insane." "Paranoia is one of the signs," Verena said, eyes sharp. I left the room. In the kitchen, I opened the drawer under the phone line. The burner was still there. I dialed a number I hadn't used in 6 years. "Navarro," came the voice. "It's me." A pause. "Philip, I need eyes. Fast." Another pause. Then, "Is it Verena?" "Yes." "You should have called sooner." "I'm calling now." Jules Navarro wasn't just a retired fraud investigator. She was the one who caught Verena's first husband siphoning biotech IP through an alias. He vanished after the trial. No trace. Suicide, they said. Jules never believed it. "Meet me in 20 minutes, she said. "Don't drive your car. It's tagged." Click. Back inside, Verena had turned the lights low. A bottle of wine opened on the bar. Clive nowhere in sight. I stepped toward the foyer. Verena blocked it. "Philip," she said, voice low, intimate. "You raised Clive to be loyal, but loyalty's not inheritance. It's taught. You think you can turn him against me?" "I already did." I opened the door. She touched my arm. "You know what they say about power? It's quiet until it isn't." I pulled away. Her nails had left faint lines in my sleeve. Jules pulled up in an unmarked SUV, tinted windows, no plates. "Get in," she said. I did. "Did you record anything?" I shook my head. "I'll do it next time." "There won't be a next time," Jules said. "Not if she's this far in." She passed me a dossier. Inside were clippings, names, a timeline. At the bottom, Verena, Langford, née Corwin. "You didn't know." "No." She changed names after the first scandal, rebranded herself after her first husband disappeared. Your case isn't the first. It's just the biggest. I closed the folder. They'll kill me. They might. She started the car. I looked in the side mirror. The porch light of my house flickered. A shadow moved behind the curtain. "You ever read Chess Theory?" Jewel asked. "I built a company, not a game." "It's the same thing," she said. "The most dangerous piece isn't the queen. It's the one you forget is on the board." Verena leaned in, her perfume like poison. "Cliffs are poetic, don't you think?" she whispered. "Clean, silent, no loose ends." The wine tasted like metal, sweet on the front, but something sharp underneath. A chemical bite I couldn't quite name. Verena raised her glass. "To a future free of complications." The wind howled outside the cliff house. Windows trembled. Trees leaned in like eavesdroppers. Clive wasn't there, just her, me, and a cliffside estate so far off the grid you could scream for hours and only the crows would answer. "I don't drink," I said. "You used to. Back when I trusted you." She smiled. That wasn't trust. That was arrogance dressed as comfort. I set the glass down. This wasn't a conversation, it was choreography, and I was being led to a final step. "I've arranged everything," Verena said, walking toward the French doors. "The press will believe the version we give them. They always do." She opened the doors. Wind blasted in, cold, violent. The sound of the Pacific crashing against the rocks below filled the room like a warning. "Belle, you brought me here to kill me," I said. She turned slowly. "Kill you? No. I'm just letting gravity finish what age already started." I moved past her into the night air. The cliff was 10 feet ahead. The drop, maybe 200 feet straight down. No railing, just stone, just wind. She walked up beside me. "You once told me power was the ability to make others disappear without lifting a finger. You listened too closely." "You taught me too well." I turned toward her. The moon hit her eyes just right, reflective, cold, empty. She pushed. Not hard, just enough. My foot slipped. Panic tore through me as the edge gave way. The fall wasn't long. Seconds. Less. Branches tore my arms. My ribs screamed. Then, impact. Darkness. Cold woke me. Salt in my throat. Rocks in my back. The sound of water slamming against stone. I wasn't dead. Not yet. My arm was bent wrong. My shoulder screamed. Blood ran down my side. I rolled. Over coughing seawater, barely conscious. A red light blinked above me. A drone, hovering, watching. My breath caught. Someone saw. I dragged myself onto a narrow outcrop under the cliff, hidden from the house above. Safe, for now. Every movement sent shockwaves through me. Bones grinding, muscles screaming. I used my belt as a sling. My shoe as a wedge against the rock. Time blurred. At some point, I heard voices. Far above. Echoes. Too fast. "Make sure it's over." Footsteps. Then silence. I lay still until night turned to gray. Birds screamed overhead. The tide pushed in harder. I had hours before the ledge was underwater. Pain was a knife in my side. I reached for my watch. Cracked, still working. The emergency beacon was gone, but the GPS was blinking. Maybe that was enough. I looked up again. The drone was gone. But someone had flown it. Someone had watched the whole thing and hadn't stopped it. I crawled, inches at a time. Rocks dug into my palms. Salt burned my cuts. Blood marked every surface behind me. No sound but breath. No help but willpower. No promise but vengeance. At the top of the outcrop, I found a narrow goat path. Unused. Overgrown. I pulled myself up, branch to branch, mud soaking through my shirt. I thought of something my father once said. People don't fall because they're weak. They fall because they trust the wrong edge. I'd trusted blood. I'd trusted smiles. I was done trusting. The forest thickened. Somewhere nearby, an engine roared to life. Too close. Not rescue. Retrieval. I dove into the brush. Laid flat. A black SUV crept down the fire trail. Lights off. Tires slow. Someone stepped out. Boots. Heavy. Tactical. Not Verena, but she had sent them. They scanned the trees. Checked the cliff edge. No body. No splash zone. No sign. They turned to leave, but the last one looked straight at the brush where I was hidden. And smiled. I looked up, lungs burning, waves crashing, and saw the drone pivot toward me like an eye that had finally blinked. I ran until I couldn't. Blood soaked through my shirt. My right shoulder throbbed like it was trying to detach itself. Every breath cut sharper than the last. The forest swallowed sound. Pines creaked like bones overhead. I kept to the trees, never the trail. Straight lines get you caught. The drone was gone, but the buzzing hadn't left my head. Every rustle felt like boots behind me. Every shadow was a gun. I don't know how long I staggered until I found it. An old firewatch cabin, half collapsed, tucked between the rocks. Door creaked open. Dust exploded from the floorboards. I collapsed inside. Blackout. I came to with the barrel of a revolver pointed at my face. "Name," the voice said. "Horse, not young, not afraid." I blinked into light. A man stood over me, long hair, tactical jacket, eyes like steel wool. "Philip Langford," I muttered. "Well, shit." He lowered the gun. "You weren't supposed to survive." He tossed me a flask. I drank. It burned. Like fire, but cleared my head. "Ronan Vega," he said. "Ex-private contractor, intel ops. I watch things no one once watched. You saw the drone. I flew the damn thing." He sat across from me. The air between us was static. "I've been tracking her for 6 months," Ronan said. "Your daughter-in-law. She's tied to 3 international entities, 2 shell companies, and 1 missing husband." "She pushed me," I said. "Off a cliff." "I saw." "Why didn't you stop it?" "I wanted her to finish." I stared at him. "She makes mistakes when she thinks no one's watching," he said. "Now she's made a big one." He reached under the cot, pulled out a laptop, played the footage. Verena, smiling, walking me toward the edge, her hand on my back, the push, the fall, no audio, just truth. "She thinks I'm dead." He nodded. "Let's keep it that way." Night fell. Rain ticked against the roof like a countdown. Ronan showed me the next file, transaction logs, email intercepts, bank pings. She accessed a Swiss account tied to your late wife's estate 2 hours ago. She doesn't have the passcode. She didn't need it. She had Clive. My stomach turned. He gave her Margaret's vault? He gave her everything. There's a moment in war when silence means surrender. I didn't feel quiet. I felt rage. "I want it back," I said. Ronan smiled. "Then let's burn them from the inside." We moved at dawn, stole a car from a ranger lot, clean plates, no GPS. I wrapped my arm tight, hid the blood. Pain is a distraction. You push past it, or you let it make decisions for you. We drove south, back to Carmel. Every mile was a memory. Every turn was a scar. Verena had a plan. She always did. The press would run with tragic accident. Clive would play grieving son. The estate would shift. The will, updated for mental decline, would activate. Trusts dissolved. Assets reassigned. The body never found. Just water. Just time. Perfect. Until now. We reached town. I had Ronan parked 2 blocks from Navarro's office. I walked in, hood low, shoulder stiff, eyes scanning every corner. Jules Navarro stood behind a glass wall on the phone. Her eyes met mine. Froze. She ended the call without finishing. "Jesus Christ," she said. "They said you were dead." Reports of my death were enthusiastically premature. She didn't laugh. She locked the door, then pulled the blinds. "Talk," she said. I showed her the drone footage, the transactions, the forged signature. Her hands trembled slightly. "Philip," she said, "this is worse than I thought. Verena's not working alone." I leaned in. "Tell me." "She's being bankrolled, foreign assets, possibly intelligence adjacent. This isn't about money anymore." "What is it about?" Jules looked me dead in the eye. "Erasing you." Outside, a car pulled up, black tinted. We ducked. A man stepped out, civilian clothes. "Too neat." He buzzed Navarro's door, knocked once, then turned and left a single envelope on the mat. Jewel grabbed it with gloved hands. Inside, a photo of me, alive, in the woods, taken minutes before I found Ronan. Underneath, in red ink, "You have 48 hours, or he disappears again." My mouth dried. She knew, and she'd sent a warning. We were no longer playing defense. Ronan sat up straighter behind the wheel. I opened the glove box, found the burner phone, dialed Clive. He picked up. "I'm sorry, Dad," he said. "It wasn't supposed to go that far." "It did," I said, "and now I'm coming home." The SUV flipped, smoke billowed, and through the windshield I saw Verena stepping out, calm, with a gun in her hand. The crash wasn't clean. Metal folded. Glass burst inward. My shoulder slammed into the door. The world spun sideways. Then silence. Not the soft kind. The kind that comes right before a kill shot. I blinked blood out of my eyes. The passenger seat was empty. Ronan was gone. The airbag hissed. Then came the click of heels. Verena's heels. I didn't move. You survive by knowing when not to. Smoke curled from the hood. I watched her shadow bend through it, tall, unbothered, gun in hand. "This was never supposed to be messy," she said. "But you always overstay your welcome, Philip." I stayed quiet. She stepped closer, looked through the cracked window. Her eyes paused. She saw the seat was empty. Too late. Ronan tackled her from the side, took her down into the dirt. Gun went flying. I pulled myself from the wreck. My ribs screamed. So did she. But Ronan had her pinned, forearm to throat. "Got her?" I asked. "She's lighter than she talks." He cuffed her, zip ties fast and tight. The gun, .22 caliber, was clean. No prints. Disposable. "Where's Clive?" I asked her. She spat. "He wasn't built for the hard part." 15 minutes later, Verena was in Navarro's basement. She didn't speak, just stared at the walls like they owed her something. Jules poured coffee, set it in front of her, unasked. "You think silence saves you?" I said. "It just confirms you." Verena smiled. "You still believe truth fixes anything." "That's adorable." "You pushed me off a cliff." "And I was merciful. Your father wouldn't have hesitated. Neither would Margaret." I stepped forward. Jules blocked me with a glance. "We need something concrete," she said. "Footage alone won't hold in court. Too ambiguous. No sound. We need motive, and we need her voice." Ronan leaned against the wall. "What about leverage?" "I already told you," Verena said. "I've done nothing wrong. I have a lawyer. I have a press plan. You? You're just an old man playing ghost." "Ghosts don't sign wills," I said. Her smile twitched. There it was. We played the next card at 2:17 p.m. Navarro's contact at the Monterey County Records Office confirmed it. A new will was filed 2 days after my surgery. Digital signature, fingerprint, all legally verified, except one detail didn't match. The thumbprint belonged to Elijah Corwin, dead 3 years, Verena's first husband. Ronan stared at the screen. "That's not just fraud. That's resurrection." I nodded. "Or fabrication." We traced the fake to a lab in San Diego. Biometrics replication, top dollar tech, government adjacent. Verena didn't flinch when we showed her the report. "You're reaching," she said. "Anyone can claim forgery." Jules opened a second envelope. Inside, a printed transcript, wire transfer logs, offshore routing, from Clive to an alias tied to the lab. Amount, $800,000. Verena's eyes narrowed. She said nothing, but her pulse in her neck gave her away. "You bought your own death certificate," I said. "Then you paid to revive it, just long enough to erase mine." No denial, just stillness. I stepped outside for air. The hallway smelled like bleach and old wood. Rain hit the windows sideways. Everything felt tight, like the building was watching us back. "You okay?" Jewel asked. "No," I said, "but I'm ready." "You still want to go public?" "There's no point in hiding a lie already televised." She nodded. "Then we go tomorrow." That night, I didn't sleep. I watched the same 10 seconds of drone footage over and over. Her hand, my fall, the emptiness. People don't betray you because they stop loving you. They do it because they think you've become irrelevant. The hardest part isn't falling. It's knowing someone stood behind you and let it happen. The morning news opened with a press conference. Verena, fresh makeup, black dress, folded hands. "We're heartbroken," she said. Philip Langford was a visionary. He struggled near the end. Confusion, paranoia. We did everything we could. The crowd nodded. The camera zoomed in. "His body was never found," she said, "but we're choosing to remember his life, not his death." The reporter raised a mic. "Is it true he had memory decline?" Verena nodded solemnly. "That's why we made the hard decision to secure his legacy." Cut scene. Jules' office. The monitor glowed blue. Live stream still running. I stood up, cracked my back, straightened my shirt. Ronan handed me a drive. "All set," he said. "Time to crash the funeral." Jules opened her door. The air inside the hallway had changed. Still, electric. Jules opened her door. The lock was picked, and her TV, already on, played Verena's press conference. On loop. The ballroom lights were too bright. They always are when people think they're about to witness closure. Crystal chandeliers, soft strings. A banner behind the podium that read, "Langford Legacy Announcement." The press packed the room shoulder to shoulder, cameras lifted like weapons. Verena stood at the center, black dress, perfect posture, grief rehearsed to the millimeter. I watched from the service corridor, heart steady, breath measured. Ronan tapped my shoulder. 30 seconds. Jewel adjusted her earpiece. The board is seated. Legal is present. County DA is on standby. I nodded. There's a saying I once repeated to my engineers when a product failed in public. If the truth is patient, it always outlives the lie. Verena smiled at the microphone. Thank you all for coming, she began. This is a difficult day for our family. She paused. Let the silence do its work. My father-in-law believed in innovation, in progress, in family. It's with heavy hearts that we... The screen behind her flickered. She frowned. A fraction of a second. Then the image snapped into focus. A cliff. Wind. Night. Her voice, raw, unfiltered, cut through the speakers. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Philip. Gasps rippled through the room. The footage played. Her hand, my back, the shove. No music, no commentary, just gravity. Verena spun toward the screen. Her smile cracked. No, she whispered. That's not... I stepped out of the corridor. The room went still. I heard someone drop a glass. I walked to the aisle, each step deliberate, ribs aching, shoulder stiff, alive. Good afternoon, I said. I'm sorry I'm late. Verena stared at me like she'd seen a ghost because, to her, I was one. You're supposed to be dead, she said. I stopped 10 feet from the stage. You should have made sure. Security moved. Jules raised her hand. Badges flashed. The county DA stood. Up. Cameras swung. Verena's breath came fast. Her eyes searched for Clive. He wasn't there. He'd already been detained 2 floors down trying to leave through a loading bay with a burner phone and a passport that didn't belong to him. I climbed the steps to the stage. Verena backed away. This isn't about money, she said suddenly, voice sharp, desperate. You think it was greed? You're wrong. I tilted my head. Then tell them. Her jaw tightened. My father worked for your company, she said. You crushed his division, called it optimization. He lost everything. He jumped. The room murmured. So I learned, she continued, eyes burning, that legacies aren't built. They're taken apart, piece by piece. I nodded once. Revenge doesn't restore the dead, I said. It just adds more names to the list. She laughed, brittle. You still think this ends clean? She reached into her purse. Fast. Too fast. Ronan moved first. The crack of a gunshot split the air. Verena fell backward, the weapon skidding across the stage. Harmless. Jules lowered her pistol, hand steady. Silence. Then chaos. Police swarmed. Hands up. Cuffs clicked. Verena screamed. Rage, not pain, as they dragged her away. I stood alone at the podium. Cameras zoomed in. I placed my hand on the microphone. My wife once told me something when our company went public. I said. She said, power doesn't corrupt. It reveals. I looked out at the room. What you saw today wasn't a tragedy. It was an unveiling. I nodded to the screen. A document appeared. The original will, time-stamped, witnessed, filed years ago. With a contingency clause, I continued. If I were ever declared incapacitated or deceased under suspicious circumstances, all controlling assets would be transferred, not to family, but to a charitable trust overseen by independent trustees. Murmurs turned to disbelief. The Langford Trust will fund medical research, whistleblower protection, and legal aid for victims of corporate abuse. I paused. No one gets rich off my death. The DA stepped forward. Philip Langford, will you cooperate fully with the investigation? I met his eyes. I already have. Later, the room empty. Lights dimmed. I stood alone by the windows. The ocean beyond the glass was calm. Deceptively so. Ronan leaned against the wall. You okay? I will be. Jewel joined us. They'll call you a survivor. I shook my head. Survivors just endure, I said. I chose to return. She smiled. Outside, sirens faded into distance. I thought of the cliff, the fall, the moment between air and impact when you realize what matters. Family isn't blood, legacy isn't money, and control is an illusion until the truth walks back into the room. She smiled at the will until I looked up. And when I did, I wasn't the one falling anymore.